Dear students, hope you are great. Today we are going to take chapter 5, Elements, Compounds and Mixtures, section 1, Elements. Any substance around us are classified as elements, compounds and mixture. First we are going to talk about elements. What's meant by an element? Element is a pure substance. So element is a pure substance that cannot be separated into simpler substance by physical or chemical means. For example, gold. Gold is an element, is made of only gold atom. Oxygen also is an element made only of oxygen atom. So oxygen O2 made of only of oxygen. So it's an element, it's a pure substance that cannot be separated. So we cannot separate oxygen atom or oxygen, this oxygen molecule. We cannot separate it. So it's an element. Elements are a pure substance. Pure substance is a substance in which all the building block atom particles are identical. For example, every atom in 5-gram piece of element gold is like every other atom of gold. So gold, this is a 5 grams of gold. Each atom inside this 5-gram piece of gold is like each other. So each atom inside gold, inside this coin, is like each other. So this is called a pure substance. For example, oxygen, another example, oxygen O2. Oxygen is a pure substance. If I get oxygen cylinder, so every atom inside oxygen cylinder is like each other. So it's a pure substance. Grouping elements. Elements are grouping into metals, non-metals, metalloids. Elements are grouped in categories according to shared properties. According to what? According to properties. There are 3 major categories of elements. We have 3 types of elements, 3 categories. First category called metals. So metals is an type of element. The properties that classify metals that are shiny and they conduct heat and electric current. So metal are shiny and conduct heat and electricity. While non-metal make up the second category, which is the second category of element. They do not conduct heat, unlike metal and electric current. So metals conduct heat and electricity, while non-metal cannot conduct heat or electricity. And solid non-metal are dull in appearance. Dull, which is mean not shiny, not lustrous. Dull. Shiny mean lustrous, while non-metal dull, not shiny. Metalloids, which is a third category. Metalloids have the properties between metal and non-metal. So metalloids, which have the properties of both metals and non-metals, make up the last category. Some metalloids, but not all, conduct heat or electric current. 3 major categories of elements. First category called metals, which is include lead, copper, tin. Those lead, copper and tin is metals. It's an element which type metals. Are elements that are shiny appearance, while copper is shiny and are good conductor of heat and electric current, as we use a copper wire to conduct heat, to conduct electricity in wire. We use a copper in a wire. So it's a metal that conducts electricity and also can conduct heat. They are malleable, which is mean can be bonded or rolled into shape like a copper wire. We can roll or bond the copper into shape like a wire, like copper wire. They are also ductile. They can be drawn into thin wires. Can be ductile, can be drawn into thin wire. So metals are shiny or lustrous, good conductor of heat and electricity. Malleable, which is mean can be rolled into shape, can be shaped ductile, which means can be drawn into thin wire. While in non-metals also elements like what? Like sulfur, like iodine, like neon, pulp neon, are elements that are dull, not shiny. Dull, which is mean not shiny or not lustrous, and they are poor conductor of heat and electric current. Solid tend to be brittle, like a powder, which is mean not ductile, and unmalleable. Few familiar objects are made of only non-metals. So non-metals are elements that are not shiny or dull, poor conductor of heat and electricity. Brittle, which is mean can break easily, and unmalleable. Metalloids like what? Like boron, like antimony, like silicon, are also called semi-metals. So metalloids called semi-metals. Another name of metalloids called semi-metals. They have properties of both metals and non-metals. Some metalloids are shiny, but some are dull. Metalloids are somewhat malleable and ductile. Some metalloids conduct heat and electric current. So metalloids have the properties between metals and non-metals. Like what? Like boron, antimony, and silicon. Watch this video.
We know that there are 118 elements in the world. These elements can be divided into two broad groups: metals and non-metals. About 70% of the elements are metals, while the remaining 30% are non-metals. Metallic elements share some similar properties, while non-metallic elements have their own set of properties. Let's take a closer look. To know which elements are metals and which are non-metals, we look at their physical properties. The first difference is, metals can reflect light very well. This is why they look shiny and lustrous. Non-metals, however, are dull. They are not very good at reflecting light. Another difference is that metals don't float in water generally, but non-metals do. This is because most metals are heavier than water, while most non-metals are lighter. This is why we fill balloons with non-metals rather than metals. Also because most non-metals are gases at room temperature like helium, hydrogen, oxygen. Few non-metals are solids like sulfur, phosphorus, and carbon. Carbon is an interesting element as it comes in many forms. It can appear as graphite, like the stuff inside your pencil, or diamonds, the stuff that people use as jewelry. Oh, look out! Who filled the balloon with bromine? Bromine is the only non-metal which is liquid at room temperature. We do not put it in balloons. Did you know? We mostly use helium to fill our balloons. This is because it is safer and less reactive than hydrogen. Hydrogen and a lit match would be explosive. Metals, on the other hand, are mostly solids at room temperature. Some common examples are aluminium, silver, gold, and iron, except mercury. Mercury is the only metal that is liquid at room temperature. This allows us to use it in thermometers. Mercury is also used in a thermometer because metals are good conductors of heat. This means they heat up very quickly as well as cool down very quickly when the heat source is blocked or moved away. On the other hand, non-metals take time to heat up and to cool down. They're also more likely to catch fire. Moving on, let's see how we can light up this bulb. Let's try connecting the non-metal first. That doesn't work. But that's okay. We use them to cover wires so we don't get electrocuted. Fun fact: graphite can surprisingly conduct electricity even though it is a non-metal. Now let's see what happens with the metal. It worked! Metals are really good conductors of electricity. This is why we use copper to make most of the wires that run in your house. The reason copper is used and not other metals like gold and silver is because that would be too expensive. Can you imagine? Gold wires all over your house. Another reason metals are used for wires is because they are ductile. This means they can easily be stretched without breaking. Non-metals cannot be stretched. They are brittle, meaning they break easily. This also means they are not malleable, meaning they cannot be molded into different shapes without breaking or cracking, but metals can. Metals are also used in making cars, airplanes, or in factories for machinery because they have high melting points. A material is said to have a high melting point when it can absorb a lot of heat before softening and liquefying. In other words, it melts at a high temperature. Non-metals have low melting points, which is why most of them are gases at room temperature.
Thanks for watching.